Hi, Tracey here, and welcome to our class, The Aquarium, and in the hoop placemat from our Seashells collection. With this collection, you get a code sheet and a set of instructions to make this project. The code sheet goes through the colour order for the stitching, and the instructions go step by step, which we will follow today. Here I've hooped one layer of our lovely Zunt Design soft lightweight tearaway, and I've also got my fabric which I have fused our Aharbin to, which is a very low loft lovely piece of lightweight fusible batting. I've also ruled horizontal and vertical centre lines, and I've pinned the fabric to the hoop, aligning the markings so that I know that it is centred. Now I've attached the hoop to the machine, the first thing I need to do is use the machine's positioning features to ensure that the centre of design is on that centre line that we have marked.
Okay.
The first lot of stitches are the basting stitches, and this attaches our fabric to the tearaway. And I remove the pins as we're going. And smooth the fabric so that we know it's nice and flat and firm in the hoop. This lot of stitching also gives us our placement for the applique fabric, which will be attached next. So I have my piece of applique fabric, and I have the Heat and Bond light attached to it, and I have removed the fabric. Now I'm placing it over those stitching lines and making sure that it is all covered so that I can now applique this piece of fabric to our main fabric. Now we're doing a small zigzag stitch so that we can trim away the excess fabric for our applique. So now we've got our zigzag stitch on, and I'm using my Kai 5100C. They're my favourite little curved scissors for cutting applique. And we need to cut as close as possible to those zigzag stitches without actually cutting the stitches. And you can see with these little scissors we can get nice and close. So we've attached our hoop again, and I've trimmed around the applique piece. The next thing that we do is some seaweed and coral with our beautiful rose gold metallic thread. Now our glitz and metallic threads are 1000 metre spools, and all of our threads come with this wrap attached to them. With the metallics, what I do is I loosen the wrap. These wraps are reusable, but the best part about them with the metallics is that you can actually use them as a thread guard. So just very loosely wrap it back around, making sure that your thread comes very easily through, and you'll find that will stop all the kinking that you may get with your metallic threads. I use an 80-12 top stitch needle always with my metallics, and depending on what machine you're using, you can loosen your tension and slower your speed lightly. As you can see, the metallic thread is running through beautifully. Once all the metallic stitching is done of the seaweed, we then change over to our beautiful Nobel 70 weight ivory matte thread. This is done for the quilting, which will go around the outside of the applique area. Once the quilting is finished, the satin stitches around the applique piece of fabric are completed. The embroidery for the shell comes next, so follow the colours through with the code sheet. And the final colour for our shell is the beautiful glitzing rose gold metallic. And the final colour for our shell is the beautiful rose gold metallic. And as it's stitching over a lot of previously stitched embroideries, I've lowered my tension slightly. In active stitch, I'm sitting at 45, whereas the previous embroideries were on the front at 50. This you can adjust with your machine depending on the type that you use. So now we've finished the main part of the embroidery. Our beautiful shell is complete and all our lovely rose gold work. What we have to do now is turn the hoop over, remove the excess tearaway from inside the applique, and do this carefully. You can see how I'm using my finger to support the stitches because we don't want to break those fine running stitches. The reason I'm taking this out is so that the bulk of it is not inside the placemat, because we are now going to attach the backing to the hoop and finish our project. So now we've removed the bulk of the tearaway, we need to tape our backing piece, which it also has the harbin attached. We're going to tape it to the back of the hoop so that we can finish our project. So I'm using Scotch brand Magic Tape. I find that holds well but leaves no residue on the fabric. Once you've done this, return the hoop to the machine and stitch the next lot of stitches. For the final part of our placemat, I've threaded the bobbin with the same thread as what I'm using for the outer border. Once you've reattached the hoop to the machine and have the same bobbin thread as the top, it will stitch around the outer edge of the placemat, first with a running stitch and then with a zigzag stitch, which will be your cutting lines. Once the running stitch is completed around the outer edge, change the thread back to the no-belt ivory, and this will stitch in the ditch around the applique and the shell to secure the backing. Next, I've changed the thread to mint green just to go around the top edge of the shell. Next is our zigzag stitches so that we can trim away the backing and the front of the placemat before our final applique stitch. Now that the zigzag stitches have finished, I'm going to trim away the excess from outside the zigzag stitches on the front of the hoop, being the front part of the placemat, and we need to do exactly the same on the back. Trimming away nice and close, removing the tape to make it easier for trimming. Once you've finished trimming the front and the back, return the hoop to the machine for the final zigzag stitches around the outer